Good morning, students. This is Sandhya. Today we are going to study about agriculture. There are four parts of this lesson. We are going to study today part 2 first. In that, we are going to study about food crops. The first thing that we are going to focus on is the agriculture seasons, and then we are going to study today rice cultivation. So let's begin. Let's go to the next slide. Now let us understand how many agriculture seasons are there in our country. We have three agriculture seasons in our country: Kharif, Rabi, and Zaid season. Now let us understand one by one. What is Kharif season? Kharif season is the season where the rain comes. It is the rainy season. That is from June to September, October, the crops which are grown in rainy season is called as Kharif crops. For example, rice, maize, millets, cotton, jute, sugarcane, these all fall into Kharif crops. The second season is the Rabi season, which is followed by after Kharif season. That means once the rainy season gets over, then we have winter season. So from September October month to, we can say, the March month, the winter season goes on. So that season is called as Rabi season. Rabi season, the crops which are grown needs irrigation because that time we don't have rainfall. We have rainfall only for 4 months, that is June to September. So Rabi crops require irrigation facility. Now, the crops which are grown in winter season are wheat, mustard, tobacco, gram. These are the crops which will require irrigation facility throughout its growth. So the second season is Rabi season. That is the winter season. The third season. The third season is the Zaid season. Zaid season is divided into two: Zaid Kharif crop and Zaid Rabi crop. The first one, that is Zaid Kharif crop, that is grown in between August to September. It's a very short duration of time where these crops are grown. The second Zaid season is the Zaid Rabi season that follows after winter season, that is December Jan, the crops are grown. These crops are generally the crops which require very short duration of time to grow. They are vegetables and fruits generally grown in Zaid season. For example, watermelon, muskmelon, cucumber, buttergourd. So these are the crops which are grown in Zaid season. So children, we have three growing seasons in our country. I'll repeat: Kharif, that is the rainy season; Rabi, that is the winter season; and Zaid is the summer season. In Zaid season, only vegetables and fruits are grown. Now, when we talk about Kharif crop, that generally grows on the water that is obtained from rain. 4 months we have rainy season, that is June to September. Rabi crops are the one who requires irrigation because that time we don't have rainfall. Even Zaid crop requires irrigation because they are summer crops. Let's go ahead. Now let us see the major crops cultivated in the northern and southern part of our country in those three seasons. So let's go ahead with the Kharif season, that is rainy season, June to September. Northern part of our country grows generally rice, cotton, bajra, maize, jawar, tur. In southern state, rice, maize, ragi, jawar, groundnuts. These are commonly grown. Rabi season is the winter season that begins in the November month and ends near about January, February month. It continues till March. So October to March is the duration taken. The crops that are grown in northern part are wheat. Wheat is the main Rabi crop. Gram, mustard, barley, these are the crops grown. In southern state, rice, maize, ragi, groundnut, jawar, these are grown. Now when we say rice, wheat, mustard, groundnut, these all will require irrigation in winter season. Zaid crop is a crop that is grown in summer season, and generally vegetables, fruits and fodder crops are grown in both northern and southern state. Even rice is grown in some parts of our country, that is West Bengal. All three seasons rice is grown. So this is all about the major crops that are grown in all three seasons. Let's go ahead. Now let's understand what are the different methods of sowing seed. Children, one most important thing you should know that the farmer plows the field before sowing any seed. After every harvest, ploughing is done. There was a board question asked why ploughing is done after every crop. The reason behind that is ploughing helps to loosen the soil. Once the soil becomes loose, mixing of soil also takes place. That is, topsoil gets mixed with subsoil. Secondly, aeration takes place because of the soil as it becomes loose. Nitrogen gets fixed into the soil easily. The third reason is the water percolates very easily. If rain falls when the field is plowed, and if the rain falls, the water gets absorbed easily. Third reason, the weeds, unwanted grass is removed by ploughing. That's why ploughing plays an important role after every harvest, before we sow the new seeds. There are different methods of sowing seed. We cannot sow two crops with the same method. For example, wheat and sugarcane cannot be sown with the same method. Now let us understand what are the different methods of sowing seed. The first method that we should understand, that is broadcasting. Now what happens in broadcasting? If you look at the picture, the farmer scatters the seeds into the field randomly by hand. So while doing this, what happens? The seeds may fall more at one place, and another place they may not fall in proper quantity. So there is uneven distribution of seeds all over the field. We will look at the advantages and disadvantages of this method in the next slide. This is very traditional and conventional method where the seeds are scattered by hand by the farmer in the field. Let us understand the second method. The second method is dibbling. Now in dibbling, after the field is plowed and the furrows are made, now what are furrows? Those channels which are made by the farmer with the help of the plow. After those furrows are made, the farmer drops the seed at equal interval by hand. This dropping of seeds into the furrows at equal interval is called as dibbling. Once the seeds are dropped at regular interval, the seeds are covered with soil and water is provided to the farm. The seeds develop into plant. Now, if you look at the difference between broadcasting and dibbling, dibbling has a proper method of sowing the seed at a regular interval. So, next slide we'll see the advantages and disadvantages of this method. Now, let us understand the third method. The third method is drilling. I have shown 3 pictures of drilling on the slide. Let's look at the picture which has labeling. Exactly what is drilling? A plough is there to which a bamboo is attached. A bamboo shaft is attached. Now why bamboo is attached to the plough? Because bamboo is has a hollow space inside. A funnel is attached to the bamboo on the top. When the plow moves ahead, when the bullocks take the plow ahead, the farmers drop seeds in the funnel and through bamboo they get sown into the furrows which are made by the plow. So what happens here? The farmer is able to drop the seeds into the furrows properly as the plow moves ahead, as the bullocks take the plow ahead, the seeds get dropped into the furrows. So this method is called as drilling. If you look at the other picture also, there is a funnel with a bamboo shaft attached to the plow. As the plow moves ahead, the farmer will drop seeds into the funnel and slowly through bamboo, the seeds get sown into the furrows. There is one small plank at the bottom of the plow which helps to pull mud on the seeds. Now this is very traditional but very commonly used method in our country, which is most commonly used for the seeds like for the crop like wheat, for the crop like cotton. This is a very common method for most of the crops. If the farmer doesn't want to use plow, then the farmer can use tractor with a drill. If you look at the picture, the farmer is having a tractor. To the tractor, a drill is attached. The drills also work in the similar manner. On the top, there is a container filled with seeds. As the tractor moves ahead, you can see those pipes are fixed to the tractor at the back. As the tractor moves ahead, the seeds get dropped into the furrows through those iron pipes. So it's the similar way what the bamboo shaft is doing, but this is more modern method. So this is all about drilling method. We are going to see the advantages and disadvantages of this method in the next slide. The fourth method is the transplantation method. The word itself tells us transplant means what? Means the seeds are grown in nursery beds first. Once the sapling is ready in the nursery, then it is shifted to the main field. As there is a transplantation taking place from nursery to the main field, this method is called as transplantation method. Let's see in the next slide in detail. Now let's understand each method, what is it and what are the advantages and disadvantages. Broadcasting method, as I told you, the seeds are scattered by hand in the field randomly. Because of this, the seeds do not fall at a regular interval. And that's the reason some seeds grow well, some do not, as they fall with unequal amount of distribution. And the disadvantage is there that the yield goes low because of that, as there is unequal distribution of the seeds. They don't grow properly and the yield goes low. The advantage of this method is in less time the farmer can sow the seeds in the farm. It can be done very quickly. The second method that we have learned is dibbling, in which the seeds are dropped at regular interval by hand in the furrows. Now, as the seeds are dropped at regular interval by hand in the furrows, the seeds will grow properly, and this will help to increase the yield. The disadvantage of this method is it is time consuming and more labor is required to sow the seeds by hand in the furrows. The third method that we had seen is drilling method. In this method, the seeds are dropped at regular interval through bamboo shaft attached to the plow, or even the tractor drill is used as a modern method. Advantage of this method is the seeds are dropped at regular interval, so the yield is high. The seeds do not get wasted, they are used economically. But the disadvantage of this method is it is time consuming and more labor is required. but drilling is the best method that is followed for most of the crops in our country. The fourth method is transplantation method. Transplantation method is followed for some crops. It cannot be followed for all crops. For example, rice is grown in India with the transplantation method. Even tea, coffee, rubber is grown with the transplantation method. Now let us understand what is transplantation method. The word itself tells us transplant means to shift the sapling from the nursery to the main field once it is grown. So let me explain you how rice is grown with the transplantation method. In next chapter, when we learn about tea and coffee, there again we are going to study how this method is used. Now let's focus on rice first. The rice seeds are grown in the nursery bed in the beginning of the monsoon. The farmer sows the seeds in the nursery bed, waters the seeds, put fertilizer and grows the seeds there. Once the seeds grow up to a height of 15 to 20 centimeters, it takes 1 month for the seeds to grow up to this height. Then they are carefully uprooted from the nursery bed and they are transplanted to the main field. Means what? It means once they are carefully uprooted from the nursery bed, the farmer takes that sapling to the main stagnated field and fixes that sapling into the main field. And there the crop grows. Now, why this transplantation is done from nursery bed to the main field? This helps the farmer to increase the yield very high. The seeds are used economically. The water is used economically. For rice, this method is followed in Kharif season, that is rainy season. The disadvantage of this method is to transplant the sapling from the nursery bed to the main field. It requires lot of labor. So it is labor intensive method. So this is one disadvantage of transplantation method. When we learn rice ahead, we are going to learn transplantation again in depth. So let's go ahead. Now let's start with the first food crop, that is rice. When we talk about rice, it's a staple food crop of India. And it is very ancient crop that is grown in Asia continent. Now, India is the second largest producer of rice after China. Rice is grown in all seasons in some states, but mostly it is a Kharif crop. In Kharif season, this crop is grown very well. This crop is grown from southern part, that is from Kanyakumari, to the northern part, that is Jammu and Kashmir, from Gujarat to Assam, west to east also. In most parts of our country, rice is grown very well. Now, what are the common geographical conditions required for the rice to grow? Rice is grown in hot and humid climate and heavy rainfall region. I'll repeat. Rice is grown in hot and humid climate and in heavy rainfall region. So if you look at our country, below Tropic of Cancer, that is the southern part of our country, coastal region is more suitable for rice cultivation as it has hot and humid climate plus heavy rainfall. So southern part of our country, coastal region especially, rice is grown on a large scale. It requires temperature about 22 degrees Celsius average temperature. Rainfall is required heavy. So coastal region receives heavy rainfall of more than 200 centimeters. It requires very fertile soil. So it is grown on the coastal region where alluvial soil is found. As there is a lot of heavy rainfall, lot of stagnation of water is required. When this crop is grown, the water should get stagnated into the field. That is the condition required. Assam, West Bengal, Odisha, they grow 3 crops in a year. That means they grow rice throughout the year. Now let's understand what are the 3 crops in which they grow rice. The 3 crops in which they grow rice is Os, Aman and Boro. When we talk about Os, Aman and Boro, these are the 3 seasons in which rice is grown. West Bengal is the leading producer of rice, where it grows rice in all 3 seasons. Now let us understand the meaning of Os, Aman and Boro. These are the seasons which are labeled with this traditional name. Os means autumn season. So the rice is grown in autumn season. Aman means winter season. The rice is grown in winter season, which is called as Aman. And Boro means summer season. So we can say autumn, winter and summer season the crops are grown. So there are 3 states who grow crops throughout the year: Assam, West Bengal and Odisha. The major producers are the northern plains in our country, the northeastern states, that is Assam, Purvanchal Hills, the coastal region and the deltaic region. Majorly coastal and deltaic region it is grown on a large scale. New technology is used for rice cultivation. There are some places where the rainfall is less. So in that case, irrigation is provided. Like the rice which is grown in Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, parts of Rajasthan requires irrigation. After China, India is the largest producer of rice and we account for 20% of the world's output. So in short, we can say rice is a staple food crop. It's a kharif crop, that means it is grown in rainy season. It requires hot and humid climate and heavy rainfall about 200 centimeters and above. It grows in very fertile soil, that is alluvial soil, mostly on the coastal regions. And there are 3 states who grow rice throughout the year: Assam, West Bengal and Odisha. And the traditional names for those 3 seasons are Os means autumn, Aman means winter and Boro means summer. Let's go to the next slide. Before we go to the next slide, please look at the picture. There are 2 pictures. The first picture talks about the rice attached to the shaft. That stem is called as shaft. The grains, when the rice shaft has grains, when the grains develop, the shaft will bend a bit because of the weight of the grain. And the grain is covered with a covering called husk. If you look at the second picture, the beginning of the rice cultivation, where the saplings are transplanted to the main stagnated field. The field is stagnated, filled with water. That we are going to learn ahead in depth ahead. So let's go ahead. Now let's understand the geographical conditions again. The temperature that is required to grow rice is generally 22 to 32 degrees Celsius, which is very well seen on the coastal region. The rainfall required is heavy rainfall, that is above 150 centimeters to 300 centimeters. Soil is very fertile soil required, alluvial soil with loamy and clayey soil we can say. Stagnation of water is must into the main field during the growing period, and that happens in the lowlands where the rainwater gets collected into the field, into the heavy rainfall region. The most important, plenty of labor is required to shift the saplings from the nursery to the main field. So, as this task has to be completed in a specific duration, so a lot of labor is required. You can see in the picture the laborers are fixing the saplings into the main stagnated field. These saplings are first grown in the nurseries and then uprooted and fixed into the main field. As you can see, the stagnated field, it is quite clayey, muddy soil filled with the water. In the second picture, you can see once the rice grows, it takes 4 months for the rice to grow. That means if the rice is sown in June month, it will grow till September, it is ready to harvest. So when the rice is ready to harvest, the shaft will have the grains filled, and there is a covering to it which we call it as husk. So it will look like this. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Let's understand in depth what is transplantation method in rice first. Because transplantation method in tea and coffee is not similar uh, when the main sapling is shifted. So let's see what happens in rice. The farmer will grow the seeds first in the nursery bed. As you can see, I have shown in the picture also. The saplings are first made ready in the nursery bed for a month. It takes a month for the saplings to get ready up to a height of 15 to 20 centimeters. Once the saplings are made ready in the nursery bed, this work is done in the beginning of the monsoon. The saplings are kept ready in the beginning of the monsoon. Once they are ready, when the rainy season starts, the main field will get filled with water. They allow the water to get stagnated into the field by making embankments along the side of the farm. A mud wall is made, which allow the water to get stagnated into the field. As the water gets stagnated into the field, the saplings are transplanted. One more thing, children, you should know: before the rainy season starts, the farmer will plow the field and keep the field ready. When the rain falls, the water gets stagnated, percolated inside the soil, as well as gets stagnated. This will happen in heavy rainfall region. The farmer will uproot the saplings from the nursery bed carefully. With the roots, the sapling should be uprooted, and then it is brought to the main field and fixed into the main field in parallel rows. You can see they are fixing the saplings in parallel rows. Now, why the saplings are fixed in parallel rows? This helps the farmer to harvest the crop easily later. So the saplings are fixed in parallel rows into the main stagnated field. Then they allow the sapling to grow there for 4 months. If required, then only irrigation is provided. Otherwise, the crop grows on rainwater. If excess rain is there, then even the excess water is also removed. The crop is allowed to grow into that stagnated field, and it takes 4 months for the crop to get ready. After that, it is harvested. In between, if water is required, it will be provided. Fertilizer is added to the field, and the crop grows well. So this is all about transplantation method. Let's go ahead to the next slide. Now let's understand the best method of rice cultivation that is used in our country. It is called as transplantation method. Now in this method, the seeds are sown in the beginning of the monsoon in the nursery bed, where it grows for a month, that is 4 weeks. Once the saplings are ready up to 15 to 20 centimeters of height, they are carefully uprooted in bunches and transplanted to the main field. The main field is the stagnated field. Now, once they are uprooted, they are fixed in parallel rows into the main stagnated field. That helps them to harvest the crop easily. Once the saplings are transplanted to the main field, they allow the saplings to grow there. If the water is excess into the field, then it is removed. If rainfall is less, then the water is added with the help of irrigation. Now in this method, the yield will increase by 45% compared to the other methods. If we grow rice with broadcasting method or drilling method or dibbling method, the yield will not be high. But by transplantation method, the yield increases by 45%. It helps to harvest the crop easily as the saplings are transplanted in parallel rows. The water which is received from the in the rainy season is stagnated and used economically. So there is no wastage of water. So it is used properly. It only one disadvantage it has, that a lot of labor is required because the saplings are to be uprooted from the nursery bed and then transplanted to the main field immediately. So it requires lot of labor to fix the sapling into the main field. So this is all about transplantation method. It is used in our country on a very large scale. Generally, they ask advantages and disadvantages of this method and what is the meaning of this method. So we have to explain how this method is, how it is taken care. Fine, let's go to the next slide. The latest method of rice cultivation is the Japanese method. This is not much used in our country, but it is the latest one. In this method, again the saplings are made ready in the nursery bed for a month. Once they grow up to a height of 15 to 20 centimeters, then they are uprooted carefully and transplanted to the main field. So the first stage of growing sapling is same and transplanting to the main field is same. The difference in Japanese method and transplantation method is the seeds which are grown. In Japanese method, the seeds are high yield variety seeds. We call it as Japonica seeds. So these Japonica seeds are grown in Japanese method. Because of this, the yield will increase by 3 times than the normal quantity. And this crop gets ready in 95 days. That means in 3 months the crop will get ready. Whereas in transplantation method, the crop will get ready in 4 months. So that's a difference. In short duration, this crop gets ready. Even one more advantage of this method is this seeds, Japonica seed can be grown in cold region also. Generally, this rice grows in hot and humid climate. But Japonica seeds can be grown in cold regions also. Japanese method, generally the cultivation is done on the terraces. They add green manure mixed with chemical fertilizers like ammonium sulfate, superphosphate chemical fertilizers are used. So that's a mixture of green manure plus chemical fertilizer, and the fertilizer is provided regularly from nursery bed to the main field. Throughout the growth, fertilizer is used. Regular irrigation is provided in Japanese method, and because of this the yield is high. So the main difference, if you want to find out in between transplantation and Japanese method, the first difference you can say that Japanese method use Japonica seeds, whereas in transplantation, any high yield variety seed can be used. Japanese method, the seeds get ready, the crop gets ready in 3 months, that is 95 days. Whereas in transplantation method, the rice will take 4 months to grow. The next point you can say that the yield in Japanese method will increase by 3 times. Whereas in transplantation method, the yield will increase by 45%. So that's a difference. Then in transplantation method, the fertilizer may be used or may not be used. Irrigation may be done, may not be done. But in Japanese method, regular irrigation and regular fertilizer is provided. So this is the difference in between Japanese method and transplantation method. Children, please remember, transplantation method is the method used in our country to grow rice, and that is the best method used in our country. Japanese method is not yet developed. Let's go to the next slide. Now let's understand how the processing of rice is done. Children, it takes 4 months for the rice to grow. It means when this rice is sown in the June month, it is harvested in the September month. So once the crop is ready to harvest, the farmer will use either labor to harvest the crop or the harvester. Generally, labor is used in our country to harvest the crop. After harvesting the crop, the stem of rice, or we can say the rice which is harvested, is tied in bundles, and these bundles are allowed to dry into the field for some days. Now, why this process of drying is done? Because the grains have moisture content in them. So they want the grains to dry before the next process. And that's why after harvesting, the rice is tied in bundles and allowed to dry into the field. After that, after the rice gets properly dried into the field, then those bundles are beaten either on a wooden plank or a drum to separate the grains from the stem. You can see in the picture that process is called as threshing. In threshing, the rice bundles are beaten on a wooden plank or any hard surface to remove the grains from the stem. The next method is winnowing. Now in winnowing, the rice is dropped from a certain height to separate the stem and the husk, the waste part of the trees of the rice sapling and the grains. They are separated with the help of wind. Generally, a winnowing fan is used, which helps to separate the grains from the stem and other unwanted material. Then that paddy which is collected. Now what is paddy? The rice covered with the brown color cover that is called husk. That is called rice paddy. That is taken to the rice mills for further processing, or the traditional method is hand pounding, where the rice husk is removed with the help of pounding. Pestle and mortar is used to remove the cover from the rice grain. Generally, the rice is taken to the rice mills. In the rice mills, the husk is removed from the rice. Once the husk is removed, we get brown rice. That brown rice is polished into white rice, and then it is packed and got into the market. Now, in this processing, if the rice is polished, then the nutrients are lost. That means white rice do not have nutrients. They are lost. But we can store white rice for a long period of time. If we do not polish rice and we keep, after removing the husk, if we keep the rice as brown rice, we call it as brown rice because it is not polished. Such rice is very nutritive and very healthy. It preserves nutrients, but the problem is brown rice cannot be stored for a long period of time. It gets easily attacked by insects. That's why generally in the shops we get polished rice. But yes, even brown rice is available in the market. So this is all about the processing of rice. A quick recap. Harvesting is followed by threshing, then winnowing, hand pounding, or it goes to the rice mills for polishing and removing the husk from the rice grain. Let's go ahead to the next slide. Now let's understand what are the different types of rice. There are two types of rice, upland rice and lowland rice. Upland rice is grown on the hill slopes and lowland rice is grown on the lowland. Upland rice is generally depending on rainwater, whereas in lowland rice, rainwater as well as irrigation can be done. In upland rice, the yield is very low, and the main objective of upland rice is to fulfill the family needs. They don't grow rice with an objective of sale. The main objective is to fulfill the needs of the family. In lowland rice, the yield is very high, and It is used for fulfilling the family needs first, and then the surplus is sold also in the market. So which type of rice is grown more in our country? It's lowland rice which is grown more in our country. If you look at the picture, the hill slopes have the terraces which are steps are made on the hill slope, and the water is collected on those slopes, on those steps, and the rice is grown. Let's go to the next slide. The main important states, the leading producers of rice in our country are West Bengal is the largest producer of rice in our country. As I told you before also, this state grows crops in 3 seasons, that is Aus, Aman and Boro. Uttar Pradesh also has the largest area under rice cultivation in India. The other states who grow rice on a large scale is Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Punjab, Tamil Nadu. These states are also leading in rice cultivation. The Green Revolution has helped to increase rice production. Now, exactly what happens in Green Revolution? Number one, high yield variety seeds are used. Secondly, irrigation if required is used. Regular fertilizer is provided to the farm, to the crops. Modern machineries are used. Modern technology is used, and the farmers are well educated to with the knowledge is provided to them exactly how that crop has to be grown. Because of all these efforts, the yield of the crop increases, and this all comes under Green Revolution. So this was all about rice cultivation in today's presentation. There are most of the questions asked on the geographical conditions of rice, then the method of growing rice, leading producers of rice, difference between Japanese method and transplantation method. So these are the common questions which are asked in the board exam. Thank you.